Can you beat Dishonored 1 as Daud? You're probably wondering how. Through the magic of PC gaming and mods, of course. Ever since my video that showcases how to update Dishonored's visuals, I have stumbled down an interesting rabbit hole. I love Daud's version of Blink, and I always wanted to know if it was possible to mod it into Dishonored 1. Well, kinda. You can play as Daud, and it's via mod that I don't believe is being worked on or updated anymore. And as stated by the author, it is buggy. So let's find out just how buggy it is and whether we can truly beat Dishonored 1 as Daud. I got into the game, I had no idea if the mod was actually working. This would certainly be a learning curve. When Corvo went to hug Emily, I could see Daud's arms were loaded in, and upon hitting pause his portrait appeared. So far, so good. It was time for Daud to watch Daud kill the Empress, to say the least. Time to recreate Prison Break. Unfortunately, without powers for now. I slipped past the guards and left a few people alive. I intend to play the game the same way Daud would, abusing his powers and wiping the floor with everyone. I for one feel like he would have a high chaos playthrough, at least that's how much we can tell from his introduction. Since my escape was pure theatricality and no deception, I noticed a cool detail that if you go loud, the guards will actually call out that you are heading for the sewers and will send more men down there, I guess. If you don't get spotted though, they will sort of just stare blankly at the broken gate. That's what happened when I was testing mods in an earlier video, so pretty cool nonetheless. I whacked everyone on my way out of the sewers and made my way towards Samuel, after which I met the loyalists and accidentally misclicked and obliterated Pierre. Sorry. And just like that, it was time for me to get my powers, and to my surprise, everything worked. Good God, this was exciting and riveting. I always wanted Daud's Blink in this game, and now I have it. This is going to be a lot of fun. It was also here that I encountered my first issue, however. I had text on the screen telling me to use Blink, which I did. However, as the game likely treats Daud's Blink as a different version to Corvo's or a different flag, it never got toggled. Hence, I was stuck with this on the screen for a little while. Or was I? I disabled the tutorial prompt and headed to the distillery district. This is where I can finally let loose and have some fun. The order of business was simple. I had to get some runes and pump levels into Blink. I considered not maxing out Blink as a first and foremost power a cardinal sin, so I simply couldn't do that. I knew exactly where I could get 3 runes from the get-go, Granny Rag's side quest. Thus I set out to help the old granny out. On my way there, I had to take a stop for a moment and appreciate the guard dialogue. One thing I love about stealth-focused games is the ability to prowl in the shadows and eavesdrop on conversations. It really helps immerse me in the lore and the world. I carried out the side quest for Granny and got up to some shenanigans at the distillery, after which I made it back to her for my reward. Upgraded to level 2 Blink, and thus I could really play the game. On my way to the main objective, I started seeing the vestiges of high chaos coming through. A bunch of dudes getting flayed alive by rats. One of the many reasons I really appreciate this game. We truly had no idea how good we had it back then. It was time to infiltrate Overseer Campbell's office. This would prove to be a fun task with this version of Blink, at the very least. I also took the moment to just appreciate the stealth in this game in general, the way you can weave in and out of environments using Blink. In general, the environments, the design, everything in this game is excellent. It's simply a masterpiece of stealth action. I also stopped for a moment in the yards to appreciate the, distinct art style the game has, like the whaling ships in the background, all the buildings. It's all very simple looking now, but back then it was good, and in my opinion, it still holds up to this day. And the art style and visuals are very unique, and the music composition was also excellent. And I actually pray we get an actual Dishonored 3. Regardless, I snuck around and slit some throats, got a few runes, and got agility to level 2. I definitely took my time. Every part of this world is filled with so much detail, it's honestly refreshing. I had to reload once or twice because I forgot how to save Kerno. Not sure why I even bothered saving him, but I eventually did. By kidnapping him and throwing him in a dumpster, and afterwards I killed Campbell in a secret room. Thus the first mission was over and things went smoothly. It was now time to visit the Golden Cat. I made my way through the town and paid Slackjaw a visit. At this point I wasn't sure if I'd help him or kill him. Either way, it wouldn't end well for him. I did some side bits, rewired a few towers, and watched as they blasted people to bits. Then I went back to Slackjaw and eviscerated his entire gang. I went into the Golden Cat, rescued Emily, butchered both twins, and extracted the code to the safe, with everything safely in my possession, and went back to the Hound Pits pub, and thus everything was going as smoothly as planned. Thus it was time to ascend the bridge. I had my fun and wiped out a bunch of NPCs out with relative ease. Then I saw a letter from Slackjaw, who should already be dead. Thankfully no softlocks or anything unusual happened, so I made my way across the bridge and wreaked havoc, killing a bunch of guards, and I eventually turned the spotlights off, which showed me Old Man Samuel just cruising in on his boat. I then took about 20 minutes trying to land this drop assassination. It was worth it because it looked pretty fucking cool in the end. Eventually I made it to Sokolov's area. Most levels in this game are fairly short, but fully crammed with detail. I really enjoyed taking my time and seeing everything there is to see about these levels. There's just so much, you know. And whilst reading some notes, I actually found a secret door that's accessed by twisting a sink 3 times. Pretty cool, never saw that before. I located Sokolov and neutralized him, and accidentally overshot a roof, cracking his head into the water as if it were concrete. With that, the Coldridge Bridge was through and done with, and it was time to visit Lady Boyle. Not before catching Piero spying on Callista in the bath, of course. Good old Piero.
The tumblers shaped like snowflakes. The truth is, there is no snowflake lock. I was just, you know, looking through the lock.
I made it into the bowl party, explored a little, mingled with the guests, and wreaked some havoc.
Bring her to me. 3, 2, 1.
Afterwards, I lured the target into the bedroom and gave her the London treatment with a knife. Then it was time for the Lord Regent himself. I always found this mission to be a bit short, did my usual rounds in exploration, exposed the region, and then killed him. Afterwards I made my way out of the tower and it was time for the double crossing in the flooded district. I honestly thought it would be way worse playing the game with this mod. Sure, you don't get the access to pool, like, because it doesn't work, and choke grenades don't really work, but you do get access to freeze blink, which I think IMO works better, and it's better to have than the other powers. But maybe I'm biased. But there have been no softlocks or issues or bugs or anything like that, other than some mission screens being a bit glitchy. And thus it was time for the flooded district. Hands down one of the best levels in the series. The amount of environmental storytelling, especially on High Chaos, is insane. It kind of showcases how everything comes full circle, with the plague, with the whalers. I got my equipment back, and after a visually delightful ordeal, I made my way to fight Daud. Or in this case, Daud versus Daud. I spared him as it was written in canon and pushed onwards. Staggering into one of the most visually appealing shots in the entire series again. And then dashed through to the Hound Pits and obliterated everybody inside. And then I made my way to the final mission on High Chaos. Surprisingly, no softlocks or issues other than a few powers not working. Now that I made it to the final mission, I quickly swooped in, I took out Martin, Pendleton, and then finally Havelock, by shooting him in the head with an explosive bullet, of course. And thus I beat Dishonored 1 as Daud. So, to answer the question of this video, can you beat Dishonored 1 as Daud? Yeah, you absolutely can with this mod. It is a little bit buggy and tricky to install, but once you get it going, it's absolutely fine. There are no issues, aside from being unable to use pull and I think choke grenades, and that's it. Everything else works fine. The blink and, you know, all the character interactions, everyone sees you as Corvo, enemies see you, you know, like invisible or something. There are not many game-breaking bugs. So yeah, I would say this is pretty excellent. If you've enjoyed this video, I encourage you to like and subscribe. Thanks and peace.